we need to know what the impact will be on the Social Security Administration, on their ability to respond to the huge workload, and the effect it will have on recipients and people who rely upon their disability or their SSI or their old age survivors benefits. So that's why we're having this hearing today. We need to know what this means.
Under the continuing resolution, we have staff is declining very rapidly. We are barely above the level where we need to furlough. And at that point, we start to see degradation of service. We've been trying to hold the line as best we can, but if we go much further with these kinds of dramatic staff reductions, the numbers that have been improving so well for the last 4 years.
Let me get to kind of where the point that where I am. First of all, I'm deeply troubled by the 3,500 people that will be could result. That's 3,500 nationwide, yes. Not in the headquarters.
Yes, that's right.
The mothership in Baltimore.
Yes, that's right.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that's nationwide, and that's in the field offices, et cetera.
Yes, and about 80% of the people, more or less, are in the field.
We could head to a shutdown.
Yes.
Because I know that in my appropriation and Commerce Justice, I can't cut anymore. And I don't know what Senator Harkin is also facing in the same stress. So we're heading to a showdown. Now, much has been said about the impact on Social Security. If there is a shutdown, will Social Security checks go out?
So this answer...
Will field offices
Sure.
stay open, or will they be closed?
Sure. This answer gets a little bit complicated depending on whether the Congress fails to pass a budget at all or takes deep cuts in our budget. So it's a somewhat different answer. But if the answer is addressed to a shutdown where Congress does not pass a budget, then I think that the White House has made what will happen clear. Mr. Carney correctly laid out that for most existing beneficiaries, checks will go out and they will not see an interruption of service. If you've had a change of address, if you're a new applicant, then we cannot pretend that we will be able to get a timely and accurate payment out.
And what about the field offices? Are they open or closed?
Under a shutdown scenario in the government, that we have some latitude to keep some essential services open, but we will be open only on a very partial basis for certain types of work under a government-wide shutdown.
I think this is a very severe crisis.
I agree with you, Senator.
And, sir, I appreciate your factual and candid response. And it's our job to resolve the crisis. Thanks for being so candid.
Thank you, Senator Mikulski.
Just the background sort of contrast, how would you evaluate your overhead, including all of your personnel and your systems, versus a comparable insurance entity in the country?
I think that we stand up against not only any federal agency, but pretty much any large financial organization in the country. If I remember correctly, if I'm making a mistake, we'll correct it for the record. About 1.28%, I believe, of our budget is for administrative costs, and it's been going down steadily as a percentage of costs for a number of years. So this is, in my book, and I've been a CEO of publicly traded corporations, which relatively few agency heads have, and I think this is an extraordinarily efficient organization, and I don't think there's a lot of fat left in this organization.
In fact, I think, and I'm alluding to what was suggested by Senator Mikulski, we're reaching the point where if we deny effective resources to the department, this level of efficiency will be compromised.
Yes.
That at some point, you just can't, continue to maintain this level.
Exactly. Senator Reid, I mean, I think we've run this experiment recently. So we ran down the administrative budget for most of this decade, and very predictable things happened. Backlogs grew, and program integrity work plummeted at a long-term cost to the trust fund. And it is only with great difficulty that we've been able to move the agency back in a positive direction and increase the program integrity work and bring the backlogs down. And what I would say to all of you now is it's your choice. We've done everything that we know how to do. And whether we go backwards or whether we go forwards depends on what you decide to choose for funding for the agency.
Well, I think it's ironic, use that term, that we have one of the most effective programs in the history of this country, one of the most efficiently run programs in the history of this country. In fact, as you suggest from your experience as a CEO of a private sector company, much more effective than most of the vaunted public companies. And yet we're at the point of disrupting it significantly in terms of how it operates if we don't provide adequate resources to you. So I think it's clear that, this is one of those cases, and they're not that frequent in any endeavor, particularly government, where we have to reinforce success, not undercut it. And so I would hope that we would reject some of the proposals, particularly the House proposal that would have significant cuts, as I understand them, and support you at a time, and again, Senator Murkowski's point, where demographically your burden is not going to get lighter, it's going to get heavier because of people like me. Not yet, but very soon. And I want you to be around for my 4-year-old daughter. So I've got a vested interest.